We are Fire Robotics, and this is the first episode of our CAD tutorial series. My name is Aditya Jatania, and today the specific thing we're going to be doing is creating a phone mount, which will mount onto a U-channel or a piece of metal on our actual robot. So you can put a controller phone in here, and everything will run fine. You won't have to Velcro it or anything. So this is what it would look like on an actual robot, as you can see, right here, mounted onto the back of this bot design. The phone would go right in here, and you'd be able to wire it up to your rev hubs and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do here is acquire a copy of Fusion 360. Now you can get educational access for free. You just look on their official website and you can sign up there. So to actually start the CADing, we're going to head to this file here. Now this is a basic design. I've just imported a U-channel so we can mount it easier later. And the first thing we're going to do is hide it. There's a little button here, this eyeball button, gone. We won't have to worry about it until we actually need it. This in your top right is the view cube. You can use this to adjust kind of your perspective. So if we bring this back, we can use this to kind of move around and see how we're using it. You can alternatively hold down shift and hold down on your scroll wheel, your middle click, to kind of get a free orbit as well. So we're going to press this home button here, which brings us back to the default view, zoom out, and press this to start our CAD. So the first thing you need to do is usually find measurements for what you're going to be doing. Now the inner part, which is where the phone will be placed, does have specific measurements, but the outer part can be customized to whatever you need. For our purposes, we're going to create something basic. So you need to go to the view cube and press down on the top button, which will take you to an angle that's kind of oriented top down. If we show the U channel, that's the top of the U channel. Find this button, Create Sketch, which allows you to create a 2D drawing of sorts, and click on this yellow square. From here, you can go and find two-point rectangle, or any shape you want to draw really. You can have a circle, or you can have a line, pretty much anything you need, but we're going to be doing a rectangle for the sake of this. Click on this point, the origin, or 0, 0 on a graph, and kind of just eyeball it for now. You can go by 4 by 100, for example, and press this button, Finish Sketch. And this gives you a basic kind of plane or a drawing that you'll be able to modify later. This tool right here, the Extrude or the Push-Pull tool, allows you to create this into something that can actually be 3D printed, and it uses the Y-axis. So just like that, we now have a cube. Now in this case, obviously whatever I've just brought it to, about 75, isn't going to be tall enough to actually fit the phone. So we're going to go back, Control-Z, and go back to our original source drawing. I have been taking the measurements from here. And what we're going to do is go here, press front on the view cube to bring to a kind of facing forward view, and find this button, the measure tool. This is very useful because it allows you to get specific angles, degrees, whatever, and distance from a point to another point. Press on measure, and we're going to click each of the corners here to see that, okay, this should be about 96.6 millimeters tall. Heading back to our phone mount, we can press extrude, and this menu will come up. We're going to put in here, this box, usually for precise measurements, 96.6.9. There we go. And this is the actual height of our design now. So that looks pretty good. We can go to the top, and that's going to prepare us for our next step, which is creating the internal segment. Now, to create the actual internal part, we're going to need some more precise measurements. Now, you can go back to the phone mount or whatever your source drawing is and measure it all out if you want. Or you can just have a cheat sheet like I do that gives you the actual measurements. So we're going to go here, press another Create Sketch, and it's very important that you create a sketch on top of this plane here instead of just the source plane that we were using before, because that will cause it to come up from the bottom. Click on here, and now what we're going to do here is put in our inner length and width. So about, we'll say 76.2 for the phone that we're using here. And you can see this gets locked. I can move my mouse to the right all I want and it won't change. And for here, we're going to do 16.9. And that's the slot where our phone will actually go in. You can see it's a little big right now. We're going to size it down in a minute. Doing this and finishing the sketch gets us another one of these rectangles here that we can click extrude on and bring the specific face down. So go to your front view. And again, you can see your phone isn't obviously going to fit in the full mount. It's going to be sticking out at the top for wiring. So we can bring this down to, we'll say about here looks good. And now you can see you have a hole in your design. Now the next thing we're going to do is just trim this down because this is a lot smaller than this. Clicking on this plane here allows you to extrude the specific face down. So we can make this a lot narrower than it was before. Same thing with this plane. We'll go maybe here. or to -7. This plane, everything is going to get kind of brought down. Now this won't really damage your structural stability, but it's also a lot easier to mount. I'm going to keep this one a little bit long for the time being. Or actually, no, we'll bring this one down too, and we'll keep the other one as long. That, and we'll draw this one out. And that is obviously going to be because the next step is creating this guy, which will allow you to mount onto your actual U-channel. So from here, we have to think about how we're actually going to mount this. If we look back at our actual assembly, this is what we're going to be mounting onto after. And if we look at the completed assembly, we can see how this kind of just about is perfectly parallel. You know, it doesn't really extend over by much, and this is where your screw holes would go. So you would be able to put a screw through here, and that would also go through the U-channel. So how we're going to emulate this kind of is going back to our practice. You should always save. Wait for Fusion to save. And kind of take a look at which side you want your panel to be on. In this case, this is why it's a little shorter. It's going to be on this side. Now it's time to use this again. And it's going to look weird when it's clipped inside of it. Just ignore it for now. You can click on this, which is kind of the data for the U-channel, and press M to move it around. And you get a very basic, control menu here. I recommend using these arrows for precision. So just for now, we're going to take it. We're going to rotate it on its axis. We're going to put it here. And just kind of keep it parallel. So we're just going to go like this for now. Keep it on the same level vertically as much as possible. There we go. And you can see it's obviously forward. That's fine. Now, the next thing we're going to do here is click on Body 2, which is the data for our block so far, and find this button, the New Component button. This just registers our body as a full component, and it gets its own little registry next to our component of the U-channel here. So if I go back, it's under Bodies. Go forward, it's its own component. We can click on the component, go to the top view, and drag it until it's about next to this. Now, we're trying to get this as close as we can without having them outright jointed to each other, which I'll cover in a moment. And the next thing we're going to do, simply click on this face and create a sketch on it. Now we're going to press capture position as that registers that we just moved it, and just draw a line across here where the two meet. And then we can hide this as we don't need it for now. And then create one more sketch on the same plan, a rectangle that will go from the point that we just made to the bottom right corner, which creates a new face that we can again extrude. Now we're going to wait till these stop overlapping with each other there, and just pull this out about as much as you think you'd need for one singular kind of bracket or pattern on your U-channel. So we can bring this back and bring it out to, we'll say here for now, so that gets us one pattern. We can hide the U-channel again for a moment, and we can just kind of take a look at this. Now this is much too long right now. We're going to take this, select this face, capture our position, and drag this back to about here, or maybe one notch up, as this is about all we'll need. Actually, I think it could be even narrower. And from here, we're going to go here, again bring out our U-channel, and this is kind of the part that I struggled a lot with when I started CAD, and it's pretty simple when you think about it. All you need to do is right click on this face of the U-channel, and to get our actual pattern down, we're going to go here, create a sketch, and then back, so we now have a full sketch of the U-channel. And we're just going to start going through and selecting all of the holes that we want to carry over. So in this case, it's going to be simply just these ones. And if you want, you can also pick the big one. Press extrude, and now watch, because extrude can also be used as a cut tool. So if we go to the right, drag it backward, you can see it turns red, which means that the cut successfully worked. And if we do that, and hide the U-channel, you can see we now have our pattern cut into here. Now, this one is a little bit different. Again, these larger holes actually are for screws that might already be placed in your U-channel. All designs won't have that. That was a modification that was made at the end by just editing the sketch a bit and changing the holes. But yeah, this is kind of the finished product. Obviously, it's a little short here. You can drag this out, make it a little bit longer. maybe like 5 millimeters more. But that's kind of the gist of it. That's going to be your basic design. And now the final step before you mount is to simply locate it in your folder, the phone mount practice, right click and insert into current design. That brings it up here. We're going to bring it to the side. The U channel that we had before is still here, but it's invisible because we set it to be like that before. We're simply going to rotate out, find the hole that we want to use, and use this, the joint tool, which brings two components together. So we're going to match hole A. Be sure to select the actual front of the hole and not the inside, like that. And do this, make sure it's the space with point B to bring them together. And just like that, your phone mount is mounted onto your bot. And you could do the exact same thing with real life parts. Obviously, you'd have to screw it in and things, but yeah, that's how you would do it in Fusion. So that was our first tutorial. It was here to get you familiar with the basics of Fusion 360, sketches, extrudes, and joints. And yeah, hopefully your design came out as well as this one did. We hope to see you next time.